The hall was large and quiet, the kind of place where every small sound felt bigger than it really was. Even the soft shuffle of shoes echoed lightly across the wooden floor. Tall lights hung from the ceiling, glowing softly, spreading a warm shine that made the floor look smooth and polished. Rows of red seats waited patiently, lined up neatly, as if they had already seen many stories, and were quietly ready to witness one more. Near the stage, a black piano stood still, calm and silent. Its surface reflected the light above like a dark mirror. It looked clean, strong, and expensive. It belonged to this place. It felt important. And yet, it felt very far from the life of a small girl sitting just a few steps behind it. The girl was young, much younger than most people in the hall. Her legs were short, and her feet barely touched the ground when she sat on the chair. She wore a simple white dress that had clearly been washed many times. The cloth was thin from use, but it was clean. Someone had taken care to press it flat. Her hair was tied back neatly, though a few loose strands slipped free and rested softly near her face. She sat still, with her hands folded tightly in her lap. Her head was slightly lowered, her eyes fixed on the floor. She tried to make herself small, quiet, easy to miss. She did not want attention. She did not want questions. She had not come to the hall to perform. She had come because she was told to sit quietly and wait far away from this beautiful hall. In a small and simple room, her mother lay on a narrow bed near a window. Thin curtains moved gently as air passed through. The room was quiet, broken only by slow breathing and the steady ticking of an old clock on the wall. That sound followed the girl everywhere. Even now, sitting in this large hall, she could hear it in her mind. Tick, tick, tick. Each sound felt like time slipping away, one moment at a time. Her mother had been sick for a long time. At first, it did not seem serious. Just tiredness, weakness, long hours of rest. Then came pain that did not go away. Then came days when standing felt like too much effort. Doctors spoke softly when they explained things. They used careful words, but their eyes were serious. The girl did not understand everything they said, but she understood enough. Her mother needed treatment. Treatment costs money, more money than they had ever seen. The girl and her mother had no one else, no family waiting to help, no one to call, no savings hidden away, just each other. Some nights, when her mother slept, the girl sat by the window and stared at the dark sky, wondering how such a big world could feel so small when help was needed. That was why the girl learned the piano, not in a school, not from a teacher. There were no lessons, no books, no guidance. She learned by listening carefully, by watching hands move, by touching the keys slowly and gently late at night when the house was quiet. She learned because music made her mother smile, even on the hardest days. She learned because when her fingers moved across the keys, her mother's eyes would close, and for a few minutes, the pain seemed to loosen its grip. Music became their small escape. It was not perfect. Sometimes she missed notes. Sometimes she played too softly or too slow. But her mother never complained. She would simply whisper, "Play again," and the girl would begin once more. Back in the hall, the girl lifted her head when she heard hurried voices near the stage. There was a problem. The program was running late. One performer had not arrived. People were already seated, and more were walking in. The empty space between performances felt uncomfortable. The organizers whispered to each other, checking watches, glancing toward the entrance, worried about the silence growing too long. One of them noticed the girl. She was small, quiet, sitting near the piano. "Can she play?" someone asked, half joking, half curious. Another person shrugged. "Maybe just something simple, a short tune. It's better than nothing." They did not mean to hurt her. They were not trying to be cruel. They were simply trying to solve a problem. Someone walked over and bent slightly so they could speak at her level. Their voice was gentle. "Can you play the piano?" Just a simple tune. Nothing long. The girl's heart skipped. Her fingers tightened in her lap. She had played before. Many times. But never like this. Never in a place so big. Never with so many people watching. Never with so much silence waiting. Her first thought was fear. Her second thought was her mother. She nodded slowly. When she stood, her legs felt weak, like they might not hold her. Each step toward the piano felt heavier than the last. The hall suddenly felt larger, wider, louder, even though no one spoke. She felt very small inside it. People watched with different expressions. Some were curious. Some were distracted. Some looked away. A few smiled politely. Most expected nothing special. After all, she was just a child. She sat on the piano bench and shifted slightly until she felt steady. The bench was cold beneath her. The keys felt smooth under her fingers. Familiar and unfamiliar at the same time. For a moment, she did nothing. The silence stretched. Her hands trembled, and she pulled them back, pressing them together. She closed her eyes. She did not think about the hall. She did not think about the people. She did not think about the lights. She thought about home. She thought about her mother's tired smile. About the way her mother would look at her with quiet pride. About the soft voice that would say, "Play that one again," even when speaking was hard. About nights when she played very softly, so no one outside would hear. She placed her fingers on the keys. The first note was gentle, then another. The tune was simple, not fast, not loud, just clear, just honest. The sound moved through the hall like a quiet breath. People shifted in their seats. Some looked up from their phones. Others leaned forward without realizing it. Conversations stopped, one by one. The girl played the way she always did, slowly at first, carefully, letting each note rest before moving to the next. Her fingers remembered what her heart had practiced over many nights. As the music continued, something changed. The tune carried sadness, but not the kind that pushes people away. It was the kind that pulls them closer. It felt like a story without words, a story about holding on when everything feels uncertain. The girl's shoulders relaxed. Her breathing became steady. The fear softened, replaced by something warm and familiar. Love. She was not performing. She was remembering. Her mother's face, her mother's hands, the quiet moments, the hope she tried to hide so her mother would not worry. A man in the front row lowered his head. A woman wiped her eyes without knowing why. Someone in the back stopped whispering. The hall was completely still, except for the piano. The girl's fingers moved with more confidence now. The notes flowed, rising and falling like gentle waves. There was no showing off, no tricks, just truth. The simple tune felt heavy with meaning when the last note faded. The girl let her hands fall into her lap. She opened her eyes. No one spoke. For one long second, she wondered if she had done something wrong. Then someone stood up. Then another soon. The hall filled with soft clapping. Not loud, not wild, but deep, respectful, real. The girl stood and bowed slightly, the way she had seen others do. Her face felt warm. Her eyes burned. She walked back to her chair, her heart still racing. People looked at her differently. Now, not with curiosity, with care, but they still did not know the truth. They did not know that this tune was not chosen for beauty. It was chosen because it was the last song she played for her mother the night before coming here. They did not know that while she played, her mother lay at home, waiting. They did not know that. The girl did not come to the hall to be seen. She came because someone said there might be a chance for help, a chance for time, a chance to save the only person she had left as the next performer prepared. Someone approached her and smiled. "That was beautiful," they said softly. The girl nodded inside her chest. Hope and fear sat side by side. She looked at the piano one last time. She did not know what would happen next, but she knew one thing. She had played with everything she had, and sometimes that is where a story truly begins. After the soft clapping faded, the hall slowly returned to movement. People shifted in their seats. Some whispered quietly. Others simply sat still, as if they were afraid to break something fragile in the air. The girl remained in her chair, her hands resting in her lap. Her fingers still felt warm, as if the piano keys were still beneath them. Her heart had not slowed yet. It beat fast, filled with feelings she could not name. She kept her eyes low. She was used to this part. After playing, she usually packed up quietly and went home. No questions, no attention, just silence again. But this time felt different. Someone nearby leaned toward her. "You play beautifully," the person said, not loudly, not for show, just honestly. The girl looked up for a moment and nodded. She did not know what to say. Words felt heavy. Another person came closer, then another. They did not surround her. They did not overwhelm her. They stood at a respectful distance, as if they understood she needed space. One person asked gently, "Where did you learn to play like that?" The girl hesitated. Her throat tightened. She had answered this question before, many times, and every time, it felt like opening a door she usually kept closed. "At home," she said quietly. Someone smiled. "You must have a very good teacher." The girl shook her head slowly. "No teacher," she said. "Just practice." There was something in her voice that made the person pause. Someone else spoke, careful and kind. "You played with a lot of feeling." The girl's fingers curled slightly in her lap. She took a slow breath. "I play for my mother," she said. The words were simple, but they landed heavily. The small group grew quiet. "She is sick," the girl continued. Her voice was soft, but steady. "When I play, she feels better, even if it's only for a little while." No one rushed her. No one interrupted. The girl lifted her head just enough to look at them. "She needs help," she said. "Doctors said there is treatment, but it costs more than we have." Her eyes lowered again. "I played that song for her last night," she added. "Before I came here." The people listening felt something shift inside them. The music they had heard moments ago suddenly carried new weight. It was no longer just beautiful. It was personal. It was a message. Someone swallowed hard. Another person whispered, "Is she alone right now?" The girl nodded. "She is resting." A long silence followed. Then one of the organizers stepped forward. This person had been worried about time earlier. Now their face looked different, softer. "Thank you for telling us," they said gently. "Would you mind waiting here for a few minutes?" The girl nodded again. She did not know what that meant, but she waited. People returned to their seats as the program continued, but the hall did not feel the same. The girl could feel eyes on her, not staring, but noticing, thinking. She sat very still. Her thoughts returned to home, to the small room, to the ticking clock. She wondered if her mother had woken up. She wondered if she should have stayed. After some time the organizer returned, this time with 2 other adults. They did not look official. They looked human, concerned. "We spoke to a few people," one of them said. "Some were very moved by your music." The girl listened quietly. "There are doctors in the audience," another said, "and people who know hospitals. They want to help find options." The girl's heart skipped. Help. The word felt dangerous, like hope, like something that could disappear if she held it too tightly. "Nothing is certain yet," the organizer added quickly, as if understanding her fear. "But people want to try." The girl nodded, her hands gripping the edge of her chair. Someone asked, "Would it be okay if we shared your story with them?" "Only here. Only tonight." The girl thought for a moment. She imagined her mother's face, Her tired smile? She nodded again. They spoke quietly among themselves, careful not to turn her story into a show. No announcements. No microphones. Just conversations. Person to person. A doctor approached her later. They crouched down so they were eye level. "I can't promise anything," the doctor said honestly, "but I can look at her reports. I can help guide you." Tears filled the girl's eyes, but she blinked them back. "Thank you," she whispered. Another person spoke next. Then another. Some offered advice. Some offered connections. Some simply offered kindness. Not everyone could help in big ways, but everyone seemed to want to do something. By the end of the evening, the girl felt tired in a way she had never felt before, not just in her body, but in her heart. The organizer arranged a ride for her home. As she left the hall, she looked back once more at the piano. It stood there, silent again, but it no longer felt distant. The ride home felt long. The city lights passed by the window, blurry and quiet. The girl held her hands together tightly, afraid that if she let go, everything would feel unreal. When she reached home, she pushed the door open slowly. The familiar room welcomed her. The clock still ticked. The air still felt heavy. Her mother opened her eyes. "You're back," her mother said softly. The girl rushed to her side. "I played," the girl said. "I played like I always do." Her mother smiled faintly. "I knew you would." The girl hesitated, then added, "People listened." Her mother reached for her hand. That night, the girl slept on the floor beside the bed, holding her mother's hand as she always did. The next days were busy and uncertain. There were hospital visits, conversations, waiting rooms, long pauses. Nothing changed overnight, but things started moving. Doctors reviewed reports. New options appeared. Not easy options. Not simple ones, but real ones. People from the hall checked in. Not every day, not with pressure. Just enough to remind the girl she was not alone anymore. One afternoon, after a long appointment, a doctor spoke gently. "There is a way forward," they said. "It will take time and care, but we can begin." The girl felt her knees weaken. Her mother squeezed her hand. Tears fell, quiet and slow. The days that followed were hard. Treatment was tiring. Waiting was painful. There were moments of fear, moments of doubt, but there were also moments of hope. The girl played the piano whenever she could, at home, at the hospital, softly, slowly. Her mother listened, sometimes with eyes closed, sometimes with a small smile. The girl learned something. During those weeks, she learned that music does not fix everything, but it opens doors, it opens hearts. And sometimes, that is enough to change a path. Months later, the hall felt far away, but its memory stayed close. One evening, as the sun set through the window, her mother sat up a little stronger than before. "You saved me," her mother said quietly. The girl shook her head. "I just played," she said. Her mother smiled. That was enough. The girl looked at her hands. Small, simple. Still learning. She understood. Now that she did not need to be loud to be heard. She did not need to be perfect to matter. She only needed to be honest. The story did not end with applause. It ended with breathing, with time, with mornings that came again, and with a simple truth. Sometimes, when someone asks for a simple tune, they receive a heart instead.